defeat an enemy without throwing a single punch? The ancient Stoics believed you could. Welcome to the world of Stoicism, a philosophy that emerged in the 3rd century BCE, where the focus is not on winning battles, but winning over oneself. Stoics held a unique perspective on dealing with adversaries. They believed in engaging with enemies not through violence or aggression, but through the power of their wisdom and virtue. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control what happens around us, but we can certainly control our reactions to it. This principle applies even when dealing with our enemies. The Stoics proposed that rather than seeking to destroy our adversaries, we should strive to understand them, to empathize with them, and ultimately, to transform them. Imagine a world where conflicts are resolved not with weapons, but with words, not with hate, but with understanding, not with vengeance, but with forgiveness. This is the world the Stoics envisioned. And the most fascinating part? They believed this world was within our grasp, if only we dared to reach for it. The Stoics were not dreamers, but pragmatists. They understood the nature of human conflict and the inevitability of adversaries. But they also knew that the true enemy often lies within, in our anger, our pride, our envy. They taught that by mastering these emotions, by becoming indifferent to the slights and provocations of others, we could rise above our adversaries without ever needing to fight them. This is not a call for passivity, but for a more enlightened form of engagement. One where we meet our enemies on the battlefield of ideas, armed with empathy and understanding. One where our greatest weapon is not our strength, but our wisdom. But how, you might ask, can we put this into practice? How can we deal with our enemies in a Stoic manner? Well, the Stoics left us with 7 key strategies, each of which we'll explore in the upcoming scenes. Let us delve into the wisdom of the Stoics and discover how they approached the concept of enemies. Epictetus, a prominent Stoic philosopher, taught us the first way, indifference. Now, it might seem a little counterintuitive. How can indifference, a seemingly passive response, be a powerful tool against antagonism? Well, let's delve into the philosophy of Epictetus to unravel this mystery. Born as a slave in Rome, Epictetus experienced firsthand the power dynamics inherent in social structures. Yet he embraced Stoicism and its teachings that espoused the power of individual choice and control. He understood that while we may not control external events, we do have a say in how we respond to them. Epictetus practiced indifference not as a means of running away from conflict, but as a way to rob his enemies of the power they sought over him. You see, when we react to provocations with anger or resentment, we give our enemies exactly what they want, our emotional response. They thrive on it. It gives them a sense of control, a sense of power. But Epictetus wasn't about to let anyone have that kind of power over him. Instead, he chose to respond with indifference. He didn't allow the actions or words of his enemies to affect his state of mind. He didn't let their antagonism dictate his reactions. By doing so, he deprived them of their desired outcome. He took away their power. He turned their weapon of provocation into an ineffective tool. In his teachings, Epictetus emphasized the importance of focusing on what is within our control, our thoughts, our actions, our reactions. Everything else is external, transient, and ultimately inconsequential. By practicing indifference, we embody this principle. We stop feeding the fire of conflict and start cultivating the tranquility of our inner self. So, the next time you find yourself in the face of adversity, remember the teachings of Epictetus. Choose indifference. Choose to focus on what is within your control. Choose to deprive your enemies of the reaction they so crave. By practicing indifference, we deprive our enemies of the reaction they so crave. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, shows us the second way, building an inner fortress. Picture Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, yet a slave to his own mind. Amid the chaos of ruling an empire, he sought refuge in the only place where true peace resides, within. In the noise and turbulence of daily life, Marcus discovered a fortress of tranquility, unperturbed by external threats. This was his inner fortress, his sanctuary of serenity amidst the storm. Marcus Aurelius was not immune to the trials of life. He faced betrayal, warfare, and personal loss, yet he remained steadfast, his inner fortress unyielding. He once wrote, You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. This was not mere philosophy for Marcus, it was his lived reality. The key to this inner fortress is understanding and accepting the dichotomy of control. Some things are up to us, others are not. Marcus knew he could not control the actions of his enemies, the whims of fate, or the course of history. But he could control his mind, his reactions, and his perspective. This was his domain, his fortress. He built his fortress with the bricks of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, the four cardinal virtues of Stoicism. Wisdom to discern what was within his control and what was not, courage to confront adversity with grace, justice to treat others with fairness, even those who wished him harm, and temperance to maintain balance and moderation in all things. His fortress was not an escape from reality, but a refuge within it. It was not a place of denial, but of acceptance. It was not a shield against pain, but a bulwark against suffering. For pain is an external event, but suffering is a state of mind. And in the fortress of his mind, Marcus found the strength to endure, the wisdom to understand, and the serenity to accept. In the face of adversity, our inner fortress remains unscathed. In the storm of life, our inner fortress stands tall. It is our sanctuary, our refuge, our strength. And like Marcus Aurelius, we too can build our inner fortress, brick by brick, virtue by virtue, moment by moment. For it is not the world that shapes us, but how we shape ourselves in the world. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, provides us the third way, transforming adversity. Seneca, a figure of resilience and intellect, saw adversity not as a hardship, but as a crucible for character development. He saw the storms of life as opportunities to bolster one's inner strength. Consider Seneca's own life. Exiled, he faced isolation and despair, but used these adversities to delve deeper into his philosophical studies. He emerged with a clearer understanding of life, and his writings to this day serve as a beacon for those navigating the choppy waters of existence. Seneca teaches us that adversity, rather than being an obstacle, can be the very thing that propels us forward. It sharpens our mind, strengthens our resolve, and makes us appreciate the calm after the storm. It's a training ground for the soul, a chance to grow and evolve. Adversity, under the Stoic lens, becomes an opportunity for growth. Two more ways the Stoics teach us are forgiveness and leading by example. In the realm of Stoic philosophy, forgiveness is seen as an act of strength, a way of releasing ourselves from the chains of resentment and anger. It's about understanding that everyone, including our enemies, are products of their environment, their experiences, and their perceptions. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Men are disturbed not by the things that happen, but by their opinions of the things that happen." In other words, our reaction to a perceived wrong is often more damaging than the wrong itself. Forgiveness, then, becomes a balm for our own wounds, a soothing remedy for the turmoil within. It allows us to break free from the cycle of negativity, to rise above the petty squabbles and personal vendettas. It doesn't mean forgetting or condoning the actions of our enemies. Rather, it means acknowledging them, understanding them, and choosing to let go of the negative emotions they evoke. Now, the second way, leading by example, is a powerful tool in the Stoic arsenal. Stoics believed in living their philosophy, not just discussing it. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and renowned Stoic philosopher, was a prime example of this. He led his life with integrity, humility, and resilience, demonstrating the virtues of Stoicism in his actions. By leading a virtuous life, we become a living testament to the principles we uphold, and in doing so, we can influence those around us, including our enemies. Imagine, if you will, an enemy watching as you navigate the world with calmness, resilience, and integrity, even in the face of adversity. This display of Stoic virtues can inspire respect and potentially a re-evaluation of their own actions and attitudes. It's a non-confrontational way of challenging your enemies, not with weapons or words, but with the strength of your character and the power of your actions. Forgiveness and leading by example are potent tools in disarming our enemies. The final two ways the Stoics guide us are through empathy and self-improvement. A key tenet of Stoicism is empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. This is not about condoning the actions of your enemy, but rather trying to comprehend their motivations. The Stoic philosophers believed that everyone is fighting a battle we know nothing about. By cultivating empathy, we can see our enemies not as villains, but as individuals struggling with their own issues. This understanding can foster patience, lessen resentment, and even open avenues for reconciliation. Then we come to self-improvement. Stoics believed that the best revenge against an enemy is not to become like them, but to rise above them. This is achieved through continuous self-improvement, becoming the best version of yourself. Stoics held that we have complete control over our own minds, actions, and responses. Thus, the focus should be on refining these elements, rather than on the actions of those who oppose us. When we're faced with adversities or enemies, it's easy to react with anger, resentment, or revenge. But Stoics encourage us to use these situations as opportunities for growth. They teach us to reflect, what can I learn from this? How can I improve? By adopting this mindset, we turn obstacles into stepping stones, enemies into teachers. Imagine if every time you encountered an enemy, you saw it as a chance to practice empathy and self-improvement. How much more resilient, understanding, and wise would you become? These are not easy principles to live by, but they are powerful and transformative. They allow us to remain calm in the face of adversity, to learn from our enemies, and to continuously strive to be better. Through these practices, Stoicism teaches us to maintain our composure, to grow from challenges, and to rise above the actions of our enemies. It's not about defeating them, but about becoming stronger, wiser, and more virtuous in the process. Through empathy and self-improvement, we can rise above our enemies. The Stoic philosophy offers us a unique perspective on dealing with our enemies. As we've journeyed through the centuries-old wisdom of the Stoics, we've uncovered 7 distinctive ways to confront and overcome our adversaries without resorting to conflict. Firstly, we discovered the power of indifference. Stoics teach us to detach from external circumstances, reducing enemies to mere inconveniences rather than threats. This is the art of emotional fortitude, of maintaining equanimity in the face of adversity. Next, we ventured into the inner fortress of the mind, the place where we hold absolute control. Here, no enemy can breach our defenses, for our thoughts and attitudes are our own. Our internal citadel remains unassailable, a sanctuary amidst the storms of conflict. Thirdly, we explored the Stoic practice of transforming adversity into advantage. Every enemy, every obstacle, becomes fuel for our growth, a chance to practice virtue and resilience. This is the alchemy of the mind, turning leaden situations into golden opportunities. Our 4th and 5th lessons were forgiveness and leading by example, 2 sides of the same coin. The Stoics believed in the power of kindness and virtue, of overcoming bitterness through understanding, and of inspiring change through our own actions. The 6th and 7th ways, empathy and self-improvement, remind us that we are all connected, all part of the same human family. Recognizing the struggles of our enemies, understanding their motivations, can help us foster compassion rather than hatred. And by focusing on our own growth and improvement, we ensure that every encounter, even with our enemies, becomes a stepping stone towards becoming our best selves. These timeless principles, though ancient, hold profound relevance in our modern world. They guide us in navigating personal conflicts, societal tensions, and global disputes, and they remind us of the power of our own minds in shaping our experiences. In the face of our enemies, let us remember the wisdom of the Stoics and choose to respond with tranquility, resilience, and understanding.